Like, I'm going to have to explain to people, literally for the rest of my life, that my wife died in 2022 of muscle fever.
Just like I almost ran myself over.
And they're
going to
be like, that guy, he totally killed her for the insurance money.
Oh my God.
Nobody dies of muscle fever. You know what I mean?
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, Melissa's workout almost killed her yesterday. She almost... You spent 15 minutes yesterday talking about, oh, man, I'm doing this new workout. I love heavy weights.
Oh, my God. I didn't know you were going to talk about this.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I think I'm sick. I think I'm getting sick.
Seriously, last night, all of a sudden, I got the chills, and I got a fever for like 2 hours of like 100, and it's called muscle fever. And it put me in bed at 9 o'clock.
You literally spent half your day yesterday lifting heavy weights, and it like just, your body just, I don't know what your body did, but.
My body's like 2.5 hours is too much. Stop it, lady. Which I'm not discouraged. I'm gonna do it again. I just think I shocked my system this week. And it's like, you need to hydrate, you know?
I've heard about this before. I was working at this radio station in Atlanta, and this guy was he was like one of the bosses, the program director, and and I honestly thought this was a joke, and then I looked it up. He told us a story about this guy was not into like working out or anything like that, but he got a personal trainer because he wanted to get into it. Well, I guess he goes to the personal trainer, and he went 2 days in a row, and on the third day had to go to the hospital.
Oh my God.
They said that he worked out, like he pushed his body so hard for 2 days that his body, was releasing all these toxins and chemicals and stuff like that, and literally like shocked his system. And he had to be in the hospital for like 3 days.
Oh my God.
I mean, and I was like, I thought this was a total joke. I'm like, wait a minute. You worked out for 2 days in a row and then had to go to the hospital for 3 days? I'm like, how bad a shape were you?
Did he stop working out?
He said no, he's kept working out, but it was like his goals changed, I think is how he worded it. He's like, my goals changed. It wasn't about as much like muscle and stuff. But then he didn't stick with it, and he wasn't like a workout guy.
Oh, I mean, I work out like 5 to 7 days a week. I mean, for years. But the heaviest weight I would lift is like 15, usually 15s, you know?
Yeah.
I've been pushing my body so hard this week, plus like doing extra stuff. Like I did not have to add body pumping yesterday and then yoga and Pilates after, you know? I like the yoga and Pilates. I don't know. I was lifting way too heavy. And when you're tearing down your muscle like that, I was not hydrated enough. So literally it gave me a fever. I went to bed. I got in bed. I never even went to sleep. You came to bed. You fell asleep. And then I was like sweating the whole night. My body was just releasing all these toxins. But it makes sense. You know when you get a massage and like it releases toxins?
Yeah.
Like I was releasing all these toxins all night long.
Yeah, I think the whole Pilates and all that after was a nice thought. But it's just after you destroyed, like just eviscerated your body's muscles, you probably didn't need to do that. Like that was probably a little much, right?
I did back and biceps for almost an hour.
That's what I'm saying. So that probably should have just been the workout.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but I'm just on a mission this week.
And then on Monday, you're pushing
legs,
400-pound weights, which you haven't ever done.
I know. That's what I mean. I just shocked my system.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm just sitting here, and she's like, I have a fever. I don't feel good. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then she's like, I did all this research. It's a muscle fever. I'm like, a muscle fever? I'm like, what are you doing? What's going on?
Well, I felt fine, but then I got a fever, and then I felt like I had a fever, you know?
So today's going to have to be a rest day, right? And just hydrate?
Well, I have a long work day, so I already planned today to be a rest day. But yes, I just think I need to hydrate like so much, you know?
Yeah.
You're really good about drinking a gallon a day.
Yeah, I don't always get the gallon, but I get pretty close. Like I'm tugging on water all day. And
Yeah.
I am a big believer too, by the way, in that first thing that you drink in the morning. I mean, we drink coffee, but I always chug a bunch of water first. Like that's got to be the first thing of your day.
Well, I had some water and Gatorade before I sipped some coffee. But yes, I just think that like so many people are dehydrated that they don't even realize, you know?
Yeah.
So I need to drink a lot of water.
Probably a good time to mention that we're powered today by Aspire Nutrition and AspireNutrition.com. So we'll have more on them later on in the episode. And you're going to probably need some extra Aspire Nutrition multivitamins today.
Dude, I was slamming multivitamins last
I
night.
know you were.
I'm like, give me all the omegas.
You needed it all, man, after your breakdown muscle fever. But we'll have more on Aspire and how we're integrating a lot of their probiotic stuff for Cal and his autism tummy. And now the whole family is doing Aspire Nutrition products. Good stuff on them later on in the podcast. Yeah, and so before all of that madness yesterday, and then we'll get to some of the feedback on the autism commercial that many people found offensive and mean, while others said it was just telling the truth. So you have clients yesterday, and I said the other day, I said, I think Cal's kind of out of that reaching in his diaper phase. It hasn't happened in like a week maybe or something.
Yeah.
Like 5-6 days. And why, when you're a parent, you think 5 or 6 days is the end of a phase is so ridiculous. But it's just you're hoping so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're just hoping so much that that's the end of it. You're like, oh, phase over. We kick that. On to the next crisis. So I'm sitting back in the little studio doing some stuff. And Charlie's with Cal. And Trey runs in from outside. He was playing football. And all I hear him go is, oh, my God. And I'm like, oh, God, what is this? Like, because I can't see anything what's happening. And then he goes, Charlie, are you serious? And I'm like, oh, don't tell me. Don't tell me. So this time I change it up. Instead of running, I walk very slow to the scene of the crime.
You did?
Oh, because I knew, and I'm like, I'm just going to walk slow. Sure enough, one of the bedroom doors is just caked. I mean, covered. His arms covered, his face covered, his hands just clumped with it. It's on the back of his neck.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, and by the way, he had just gotten out of the shower like 30 minutes before. Because he spent about an hour in the pool and ate dinner. Like, he really had a great pool day yesterday. It was beautiful outside, and he was just having a blast. And I'm like, I'm just going to slow roll this one back to the bathroom. So I grabbed his hand, which was awful, and we slowly walked. And I said, Cal, do we reach in our diaper? And he goes, no. I said, yeah, but you just did. And it's yucky and it's dirty. It can make you sick. I said, do we reach in our diaper, Cal? No. Okay. And then we took our bath. That was before the muscle fever.
Yeah.
That was before the muscle fever.
I felt fine when I got home. It was the weirdest thing.
Wonder if that brought on your muscle fever. Like you got home at the end of that and maybe like the shock of the stress. Maybe.
No, I honestly felt fine. And then I'm like, I got home and I'm like, how's it going? And you're like, not good. There was poop everywhere. So I'm like, okay, just go get a beer. Leave the house. I got it.
This was an hour-long cleanup. Like, this was after his bath was another 30 minutes, and then the hour. This was like, this was borderline hazmat. Like, could have called it a hazmat team.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this was, oh man, that was something. That was, yeah, I definitely needed some fresh air after that hour and a half. I just walked outside on the driveway and just looked up at the sky, took some deep breaths. And I was like, oh, my God. And I had no idea. Even at that point, I had no idea that the muscle fever was coming. And that you would
Neither did I.
That you would not be, in just 2 hours after that, you wouldn't be able to walk. Because you said, you're like, I have to go lay in my bed. Because you were sitting up in the kitchen. You're like, I have to lay down. I have to drink water and lay down. Like, you looked so uncomfortable. And then you just laid down and you were just staring at the ceiling. And you're like, I have a muscle fever. I'm like, oh, my God.
Well, I honestly felt fine. And I put him to bed. And then I made us a vodka because I thought you were going to be home soon. So I made us a vodka. I took 2 sips and I'm like, oh my God, I think I have a fever.
Jesus Christ.
So I took my temperature.
Why did I even come home? I should have just
And it was
kept
100.5. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm throwing my vodka away and I'm drinking Pedialyte. My body was like, no way are you having alcohol. You need water.
Dude, I knew when I came home and you had a bottle of Pedialyte next to you. I'm like, boy, we're in for an interesting night tonight.
Seriously, my body just told me though. It's like you need to hydrate. You're not having anything to dehydrate you.
Why did I come home? I could I went south. I was probably 100 feet from the Gulf of Mexico, and if I could have kept going south, the Florida Keys in about 4 hours. Could have hit the Keys. Oh.
I text you. I'm like, I have a cocktail in front of me, and you're not gonna believe it, but I have a fever now.
Oh.
And I'm like, I'm researching, and it's called muscle fever.
There ain't much.
It's so weird.
Yeah, but you know what? It's like there's really not much that we won't believe at this point, you know?
I know, right?
Like, I would put muscle fever on the chart as something that I did not see coming, but also not shocked that we got struck with a muscle fever last night.
I know.
And not surprised, by the way, that you woke up this morning, you're like, I feel great. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Because for a minute I was like, well, muscle fever is probably going to take you down. Because I bet like 6 people a year die of muscle fever. And I'm like, yeah, this will be, like, we didn't see that coming. Like, I'm going to have to explain to people, literally for the rest of my life, that my wife died in 2022 of muscle fever.
Just like I almost ran myself over.
And they're
going to
be like, that guy, he totally killed her for the insurance money.
Oh my God.
Nobody dies of muscle fever. You know what I mean?
That's funny.
Yeah.
No, and my body is sore, but not like so sore that I would say I would get muscle fever. I just think it was like the breakdown so much and not drinking enough water.
I think you never recovered from the Monday workout.
Yeah.
You know, and then you just went yesterday and then just put the knife right in your chest. And then your body was like, all right, it's time to activate muscle fever and show this woman that we can fight back to.
Well, that leg workout, lifting 350-pound legs, and then I went to body pump and I'm like, oh, I'll just do 1,000,000 lunges and squats. My body's like, you are so dumb.
Yeah. Well, not to mention, too, I mean, it's been in the upper 80s, and so, like, we're back to doing, like, the normal sweating. Like just going to the grocery store, you probably lose a pound or two from getting in or out of your car. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
You're not factoring all that in.
You always say, what, every year you lose 5 pounds?
When like, we get, 3 weeks of winter here, and it's after you come out of that, like, I feel like, yes, once it gets to that first 2 weeks of like 80s and 90s, like you're just sweating. So you have like that normal, like, welcome back to spring 5 pounds loss, just naturally.
Yeah.
Like, get it sitting in your car. Your car's been parked for 2 or 3 hours and then go sit in your car. Like, you just start dripping. I mean, it's
I know.
So, I mean, yeah, that's got to be going somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, it's burning something.
Right.
So, well, I'm glad you've recovered.
I'm recovered. I'm having a cup of coffee, but I need to drink more water because I'm dehydrating
you've got to get
myself.
I tell people that, I mean, you've got to get one of these gallon things because it's too hard to lose track.
Well, that's the thing. If I'm busy, I lose track.
Yeah, it's too hard to, because people be like, oh, I drink water all day. I mean, 4 bottles of water seems like you're drinking water all day, but it's 4 bottles of water.
I know.
It's just not enough.
No, and then when you break down your body and drink coffee and stuff, you need even more water.
Yeah, every cup of coffee takes away a cup of coffee.
Takes away a cup of water.
A cup of water, yeah. And then every cocktail or beer you have takes away a cup of water. So
yeah.
At least that's what they say. I have heard that it's really not that bad, but just go with that model and you'll come out
Well,
ahead.
and then the Florida sun, Yeah,
and then the sun, like, you're sweating and running around and you're on your feet all day with your clients.
Yep.
So that's, you know what I mean? You're dehydrated, moving around.
I have an extension today. I'm going to be on my feet for 5 hours straight.
Oh, my God.
With my arms up.
What if, 5 hours, a 5-hour extension, what if in like hour 3, the muscle fever creeps back up?
Well, I'm just going to have to fight through it. I can't do half a head.
Now, do you tell the client, I think I have a muscle fever, but I'll be okay?
I would tell her that, yeah.
She would think it was funny?
Yeah.
Oh, Debbie would like that?
No, she'd be like, I get it. Just finish my hair.
Don't tell me about your muscle fever. Yeah, those are just a couple of things, my God, throughout the day, that it's just like you just don't know what's coming next. That's just life, though, right?
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
No.
He went to bed easy, too. And then I'm like, oh, I'll just hang out with you for a little bit.
Well, you know what, though? Thank God.
Because I didn't talk to you yesterday.
Yeah, well, thank God for that, though. It was a pretty easy bedtime.
Yeah, but he had his intense therapy, so
forgot about that part.
Tired.
Yeah, I forgot about that part. Well, that may work to our advantage then, the 2 days a week when he does that, and we don't have to do, because sometimes it's not that bedtime. I don't know. It's not that bedtimes are like hard. It's just that they just never come. Like
They're not consistent.
Yeah, it's sort of bedtime, and he's starting to go down, but then it's sort of not bedtime. You know what I mean? It's just like, and the next thing you know, it's like 11 o'clock, and it's like, he like flirts with bedtime. He'll like pretend it is, and then it's not. And then he'll pretend it is, and then it's not. You know?
Yeah.
But it's never actually bedtime, and then it is, and he's gone, but then it's late.
Well, he said no school already this morning, so.
Oh, I thought he was saying school.
No school.
Oh, I thought he was saying I want school.
No. For whatever reason, they're all up really early this morning. So Charlie told him, Tyler's going to school, because Tyler's usually already gone. And he's like, no school. No school. So.
Yeah. I heard, I think I heard him at like 6:25 this morning.
Yeah, he was up early.
I think I heard him talking at like 6:25. The baby shark thing, you know what? You have a picture of that?
I do.
Can we'll post or send it to me?
Yeah.
So we figured something kind of interesting. I mean, I don't know. We think it's interesting. You might think it's weird or dumb or whatever. But he's been pulling, and this is on some of our reels, which you can get at dailyautism.com and link to the socials, dailyautism.com. He's been pulling assorted clothes out of the closets and laundry rooms and making sharks with them on the floor, which is actually kind of cool. He makes a really good shark, I got to tell you.
He makes the, like, fin and the back swim, the tail.
The tail, and then the fin, and then the... Anyway, they're just really good sharks. Well, Charlie noticed that he's finding clothes that are the colors of the baby shark family.
Right.
Which is really... I mean, I would just never have guessed that.
It's interesting.
So baby shark's yellow...
Yellow, daddy shark's blue, mommy shark's pink, and then he's doing the grandpa and grandpa as green and red.
Yeah, grandma's red, grandpa's green.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he actually is making the sharks. He'll line them up on the floor, and then he will point to them and tell them, you know, who they like, what names they are, which sharks they are.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize this until you just said it. So yesterday in the bath, he's got these little boats that we play with in the bath. You know what I mean? That float on the water. Well, he would say, wash baby shark and hand me the yellow boat. Wash daddy shark. All of those colors are the same as the baby sharks, which is a total coincidence. I mean, we didn't buy them as like baby shark boats. They're just boats with colors.
Right.
And he was saying, wash baby shark, wash daddy shark, wash grandma shark. And now I just realized that he was handing me the colors, the same colors that he makes the clothes with.
Crazy.
Yeah. Which is, by the way, new. They always say look for like new things. He's never associated anything that now are the colors are now something shark.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That picture is pretty cool that I'm going to post. Like, it's funny. It's funny where his mind goes, you know?
Yeah. And we're now that's what I'm just saying. Like now colors are becoming the sharks. Like we played a part as the sharks, but now the colors are playing a part as the sharks.
Right.
Maybe that's the beginning of the phase to end the reaching in his diaper. Yeah, no way. We're not getting that lucky.
Oh, my God. And then I'm talking about potty training next week. I'm like, oh, gosh.
Did we, maybe we jinxed ourselves by playing that Autism Speaks commercial yesterday.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe that brought us, like, bad. I don't know. I don't even believe in karma, so I can't even say that. But maybe that brought us, like, our horrible day. Probably not. So, anyway, if you didn't hear it yesterday, we played the commercial, that Autism Speaks commercial. This is from several years ago, but it still gets talked about. And some people call it super offensive. Some people call it just real. One person wrote on LinkedIn, this is absolutely spot on. If you're too sensitive to deal with it, get over yourself. That, you know, it's just all that stuff. Like people just arguing and stuff. And I was trying to not like find the argumentative point of view. I was just wondering if there was some middle ground in the entire commercial where you could just go, yeah, I mean, it was a rough, edgy way to present it, but a lot of those things are things that some people may need to hear, you know, or I don't know. I go back and forth. Has your mind changed on it at all?
No. I mean, I'm not offended by it. It sounded creepy at the beginning, you know? Yeah.
So we got a few comments. I'm trying to go through the Instagram messages. Somebody wrote, well, here's Facebook first. So Caitlin, this is our friend Caitlin, KK. We love KK. She's, are we allowed to say where she is now?
I think so.
You say it.
She's there. She's a bartender at Krabby Bill's IRB.
All right. Krabby Bill's IRB.
Yep.
Yeah, well, because she was somewhere else for a minute.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't. So anyway, we always like to support our friends wherever they are. So she's at Krabby Bill's, one of our favorite spots. And she's at the outside bar, the bar part, not the inside restaurant part. Way more fun outside.
It's called the loading dock.
The loading dock. So she wrote, I'll just paraphrase a lot of this. A few things to unpack here. The commercial is effective, but because it is offensive, honestly, if I was hearing it on the radio, I would change the channel after 20 seconds. Melissa is right. You go through all of the emotions. She said, when he says that you ignored me and that was a mistake, I got chills, because how many times as parents do we second guess ourselves? She's really right. That was one of the aspects of that commercial, that when he said that guy, I was sort of like,
I know.
Because you didn't, it's not that parents are ignoring autism.
Some parents do. I mean, some people may, like, for instance, your friend may tell you, I think that you should get your kid an evaluation, and then people ignore it because they're in denial and they're scared. I mean, I went through those phases.
Yeah, I guess it's more about intention. I mean, I don't think anybody intentionally. Yeah, no, we all went through it. That wording makes it sort of seem like it was your fault.
Oh, yeah. I don't agree it's anyone's fault.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you ignore me and now I'm here to make your life hell. I don't know. That's a rough.
It was pretty, the beginning of that is pretty intense.
It's rough.
Yes.
I think they do bring it home full circle, though.
Yes.
It does. And I was saying yesterday, I really appreciate how they talk about technology and prayer and nutrition and all the different ways, and it talks about this is something that has nothing to do with people's religion and color and background. It's just, you know what I mean? So I sort of liked that they brought that to life, whereas this is a problem, a challenge among everybody. And I know I'll get messages about saying it's a problem, but I don't know. To me, yesterday when I walked out and saw what I saw, that was problematic. Sorry. I don't know how else to say it. It was problematic.
Oh, gosh.
But again, it's the characteristics of autism. It's not the people. It's problematic,
Well, it also says in that, like, you won't be able to sleep because I don't sleep. We have not had many issues with sleeping because once he is asleep, he goes to sleep. But other people, kids with autism, they stay awake. And one thing that's cool about this Aspire is they do have a sleeping pill or vitamin that you can take.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a sleep formula. We haven't integrated that with Cal yet, but we'll get there. Yeah, and you're right. It's a lot of, or some can fall asleep and can't stay asleep.
Right.
Or some it's impossible to fall asleep, but once they do stay asleep. I mean, I've seen videos where people, like they were talking about their kids, like haven't slept for 2 days.
Yeah.
Then they'll just go and sleep for a day and a half. Once they're asleep, they're out.
It's crazy.
Denise wrote also, and again, you can link to these social channels at dailyautism.com. She said, to be honest, I've never been a fan of Autism Speaks. I truly don't think the majority of parents ignore their kids not hitting milestones. She said she thinks it's more common for healthcare providers to wait longer and say things like every kid develops at their own pace, etc. She also believes that the 1 in 87 statistic was inaccurate, and it became a diagnosis to put many individuals in who didn't have any other formal diagnosis that fit to get the services. Yeah, I got to tell you, I mean, the one thing, and I think Denise is right, like, pediatricians, they don't have that formal, and I guess, there's no expectation that they would, but we kind of heard that, oh, he'll be fine, he's developing differently. I remember her big thing was, I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, when she wrote that, and I saw it yesterday, when Cal was 15 months, I kept saying, I'm concerned about him not speaking. And she's like, well, let's wait till 18 months. And then 18 months came and she's like, well, he's the baby of the family. And then finally I'm like, no, I'm looking into this. So that's when I checked into early steps.
I think that's too, it makes it a little more challenging when you're autistic, but you're not the first. So there's siblings ahead of you.
Right.
Because it's very common for pediatricians to say, oh, this baby's going to be developmentally slower because the other kids are going to do things for the baby. They're going to grab things for them. They're going to speak for them. And it's true. They do. They do. But at the same time, there's a point where it's like, wow, you're so far off. I don't know that we should wait anymore.
Yeah.
And
that's why you have to take charge as parents. If you see a delay, don't wait for your pediatrician. And like I said, our pediatrician is just, they're not the best. It's more like now that he's been diagnosed, it's like, okay, we'll go to you for medicine. But if I need something more specialized, I'm just going to tell you what I need. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you can do, and they seem like they're almost good with that. Because I feel like parents of autism know more about autism than pediatricians.
It's true.
It's 100% true. Now, don't get me wrong. If he has an ear infection, she's our ace in the hole. I mean, we're going, right? It's like fine for all that stuff that every kid has. But when it comes to autism, and they're usually pretty good. This is how I started to pick up on it. Because if you call and you're like, look, I need a referral for this because of autism this, autism that, da-da-da-da-da-da, they'll just do it and sign off.
Oh, yeah. I don't even have to go in.
They don't even know. They're just like, sounds good to us.
We talked about him having to go to the hospital for these gut issues. When we walked in the hospital that day and we said he's autistic, people are like mind blown. Hospital workers, they don't know what to do. You know what I mean? Unless somebody specializes in this, you have to tell them what's going to work. You know what I mean? Like every time he goes to the doctor and they put that finger thing on, the heart rate, I'm like, no, you're wasting your time. Take it off.
Yeah, he doesn't want that. Yeah, I think it's measuring your oxygen or your pulse or something, but he hates it. I mean, it's just not going to stay on. And it does take several times for you to say, hey, can you just, like, that's not going to work. Like, that's, there's the old school way to get the pulse if you want it. Like, and maybe they don't even teach that anymore, but you could do the 2 fingers on like the throat and figure it out.
Yeah, which is actually much easier.
Yeah, I mean, like just like, I know it takes time and everything, but if that's what you want.
Or their wrist, yeah.
Yeah, but it's, that's the other way that you could do it.
And
couple other messages and stuff on that. And back to what Denise said, it's interesting because she even said the 1 in 87, and now look at it. It's like 1 in 44 being diagnosed with autism.
Yeah.
She talked about the one. Now it's 1 in 44. I mean, look how crazy it's come, and just how fast it's growing and growing and growing. The diagnoses are coming everywhere. The spectrum has evolved, and that's why I've said in 5 to 10 to 15 years, it is going to be a much different type of society. We talked about Chuck E. Cheese. They're now doing a Spectrum Sunday.
Sensory morning, yeah.
Yeah, Sensory Sunday or something.
Which is really nice. I mean, I hope more places start.
Well, they will. And that's why I'm saying because of the I read something the other day. It was interesting. It says we're going to have an epidemic of spectrum in the next 10 to 20 years because it's so easy now to ignore people with autism and people on the spectrum, ADHD, that in 10 and 20 years, when this wave of people now are turning 20, 25, 30, we're going to have a bunch of adults who were either denied a lot of services, who some parents just weren't aware, never got, the care that they needed. And it kind of goes back to that commercial,
Yeah.
It could be a little bit scary because when you're 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and adults can manage you, that's a little different when you're 20, 25, 30.
Yeah, for sure.
They were talking about law enforcement's going to have an epidemic of having to understand and communicate with those on the spectrum, which is much different. When you pull up on a scene and something's going on and you've got police officers and you've got lights and you've got sirens, that's much different than dealing with people who aren't on the spectrum and don't have autism.
Yeah.
Those lights and sirens are massive trigger points and things can get really wild, crazy. And it was a really interesting article about we may face an epidemic of how are we going to communicate and handle this in public. So so the good part is like you talk about like the Chuck E. Cheese and everything, like these companies, these organizations, they're starting to do things to say, hey, we have to help integrate this into society. So,
I know. I think it's great.
I think it's super
I gotta
cool.
go.
You got to go?
Yeah.
All right. Well, real quick, AspireNutrition.com. We talked yesterday. We have integrated Cal onto these products, AspireNutrition.com. They sent us the BioHeal, and that's really where we started with Cal. And this has been really cool because this autism tummy issues are really, really tough. He's been to the hospital before. He's had scans, and they said you've got to start looking at a probiotic. And they recommend a lot of kids with autism talk to their developmental pediatricians about that. And so we've got him on his BioHeal. It's been a little over a week. He is much less frequently asking us to rub his tummy. He would once or twice a day say, tummy hurts. And he's done that once every few days now. Their BioHeal is using, their system is great, 13 billion colony forming units, and that's the probiotic strain. 13 billion. So he's getting things that he just wasn't getting. We talked about the multivitamin. This thing is wild. It's potent. The whole family is on it, but it's so great for Cal because he had such a limited diet. I mean, craving pizza, craving French fries. Are you kidding me? His healthy days were broccoli and hummus, so he just wasn't getting enough. The vitamin C for his immune system was totally lacking. But the Aspire Nutrition's multivitamin formula, I mean, getting things like kelp, getting things like shiitake mushrooms, apricots, I mean, and there are dozens and dozens of other ingredients. And we talked about, how do you talk about a multivitamin and what it's doing for somebody? Well, what makes us feel great with Cal, look what he's getting that he otherwise wasn't going to get. We were never going to come home and just find Cal eating a shiitake mushroom. It was just never going to happen. But now he is. So integrating these AspireNutrition.com products, feeling great. We are all over this Omega 369, just a tablespoon, swallow it. It's got that orange creamsicle-like flavor. The kids are using that as well, and our kids are really active. I mean, really active in sports. So it's been really great to jump on with their products, team up with them. Also, the BioClear Detox, we're all starting that next week. So it's AspireNutrition.com. Feel free to message us. And we're happy to let you know how we're using the products, what products we're using. AspireNutrition.com.